Hi guys, happy Monday. It's so just, this is so old. This is even older. I have got to find toner. I cannot find fucking G18 toner and I am so pissed. But anyways, we're gonna go back over, well, we're gonna finish off with the Egyptian deities today, so I swear this chair is gonna fall apart and one day I'm just gonna fall down and I'm not gonna pop back up. Alright, now we have Ta, or Ptah, Ta. So, Ta was an Egyptian creator god and a god of craftsmen. His reign was from 3000 BCE, possibly earlier, to the end of the ancient Egyptian history, so about 4th century CE, with cult sanctuaries in Memphis and throughout the Nile Valley. His main rival for seniority as creator god was the tomb of Heliopolis, with the Egyptian pantheon. So, his consort with the lion goddess Sekhmet, and by implication only his son Nefertum. He is depicted in human form wearing a closely fitted robe with only the arms free. So his most distinctive features are the invariable skull cap exposing only his face and ears, and the was or rod of dominion which he holds, consisting of a staff surrounded by the ankh, the symbol of life. Otherwise, he is symbolized by the sacred animal, the bull. So yeah, that's what I thought, that Ta was the creator god, but then we have a tomb that creates us and molds us from clay and breathes life into us. So I'm not 100% sure about that one. Maybe. I don't know, but I like Ta, and I like when he comes to me. I love the helmet that he wears. It is just amazing. Now, according to the priestly genealogy composed in Memphis, Ta upstaged a tomb as the father of the gods, so the people was convinced that Ta not only a tomb, but the whole Heliopolis pantheon by thinking and speaking the cosmos into existence. Now, all life and matter came from the tongue of Ta. In this cosmogony, Nun represents the amorphous primeval matter out of which Ta generated himself as a bisexual entity. So the maleness of which Ta, Nun, is the femaleness, Ta, Nonet. So yeah, sometimes Ta is called carebaker, meaning he who is under his tree. I would love to just go sit outside under a tree for a long time and just sit there and just do nothing but smoke. Now where did I go? Alright, suggesting that he was synchronized with an older local tree god of Memphis whose symbol is the moringa tree. Another vision of him came from his role as a patron of craftsmen, of trades, but particularly trades like jewelry, where his presence was denoted in art by dwarfish craftsmen busy at work. Now, Ta is envisaged as creating humankind from base metals. Now, in Greco-Roman times, he became identified with Hephaestus, the Greek god of the smiths. That's really interesting. That is really interesting that I like this. I like the metals and the jewelry making, and alright, so now I have another connection to where, just the craftsmanship. This has a very specific special meaning. The heart, this mechanical looking heart. So, and this was when I was actually on Kratom, but I was studying the Union of Isis and Thoth, going through all their initiations in the spirit world, and Ta was one of them. So I love Ta. I have a sacred vessel for him, everything, so it's really great. I have a lot of stuff now that reading this actually, is very Ta related. So I like it. I like what I'm reading. Alright, now we have Re, or Ra. We have done this, or Pra. We've done a lot of this. Wow, this is a really long article. So Ra. Yeah, Ra, or Re, or Pra. So many different names, it's crazy. Is the personification of the sun. So, obviously, we all knew that. Ra. The eye of Ra. was the ancient Egyptian sun god. His name meant the sun, and still does, and he represents its strength. Earlier, he was identified with Atum, the creator god of Heliopolis. So this was his major cult center. Sometimes Atum, however, was considered to have created Ra, and more often, Ra was thought to have emerged from Nun by the power of his own will. So two theories concern his ascent from the primeval waters. He rose from the primeval waters and closed around like petals of a lotus blossom that unfolded about him when he returned at night, or that he rose in the shape of the phoenix. So the Bennu bird, and alighted on top of an obelisk, the Benden stone, which symbolized a ray of the sun. The Benden stone was the most sacred object with Ra's temple at Heliopolis, because its glittering surface caught and reflected the morning sun. So the temple appeared as a primordial hill, with the house of Benden at its center. I wonder what kind of a stone that is. I have a lot of different kinds of stones that do reflect the morning sun, which is pretty interesting. So, alright, so the evolution of genealogy of Ra has become complex through myth. So Ra is said to have a consort of Rat, or Isis, or Urt, Haiku, great in magic, or even Hathor, but more often like Atum, he was said to have produced alone, either by being bisexual or by masturbation or through spittle. So the divine couple Shu and Tefnu, who in turn produced Geb and Nut, whose children were Osiris, Isis, Seth, or Set, and Nephthys. Alternatively, according to legend, Ra was the son of Geb, and Nu, in the form of a cow, was born a calf each morning. So grew to a bull by midday and returned to fertilize his mother as Campus, bull of his mother, and died each night to be reborn as his own son the next morning. Further beliefs were set that Ra hatched from an egg formed by clay by Ta, or laid by Geb in the form of a goose. So sometimes Hathor was said to be the child of Ra, as were Osiris, Set, Horus, and Mer. It's crazy. It's really crazy. I love the mythology behind all of this. The theories. So Ra was said to be the father of the gods, for he was their head and king, as well as the father of humanity and all living creatures that were believed to grow from his sweat or tears. So the tears were produced from the eye of Ra, which was separable from him with a mind of its own. So once, when it did not turn, Ra sent Shu and Tefnu to get it. So the eye stubbornly resisted, and in the struggle shed tears. Now from those tears men grew. Perhaps this myth emerged because the Egyptian words for tears and men share a similar sound. Who knows? So there were variants of the story concerning the Eye of Ra. One legend was that the eye was sent by Atum to search for Shu and Tefnu, so who were lost in the waters of Nun, being placed on Atum's forehead rewarded the eye. Now another story is that the eye wandered on its own accord, and Ra sent Thoth, the moon, to fetch it back. Upon returning to the eye, discovered that it had been replaced by another eye, perhaps the moon. Thoth, however, mollified the original eye, and Ra pacified it by placing it in the shape of the Urus serpent on his brow, where it could rule the whole world. Now the eye, or the Urasus, would become the effective ruler of the world, and as such would be borne by pharaohs as a symbol of their majesty and their descent from the sun god. That's why I always wear this. I've always wondered why I wear this. I love it. So, where did I go? Okay, so Ra governed by himself at first in what called the first time, or the Golden Age. So it was an age in Egypt when gods and men peacefully coexisted. That would be wonderful. The youthful Ra maintained a firm rule, In the power of the divine, Mer went uncontested. He discussed with Shu the progress of Earth each morning. However, occasionally the people felt that Ra's close inspection was obsessive and rebelled. But normally they were powerless, such as with the summer heat against the mighty king. Therefore, there was the time when Apep, the serpent, conspired with Ra's enemies to kill him at sunrise, but they were defeated in an all-day battle. Then another time, Ra transformed himself into a cat to behead Apep. Yeah. It's all in Egyptian mythology. So now as Ra aged, his power began slipping away. He became an old man, incontinent, and dribbled from his trembling mouth. Ew. At times, even other deities argued with him and took advantage of him. Men began detaching Ra's incapacitations and sought to plot against him, while saying, "His Majesty is grown old, his bones are silver, his flesh is gold, and his hair a real lapis lazuli." Ooh, I love that color. Ra knew all of this when which disturbed him. So he, therefore, called a secret council of the gods that included the Eye of Ra, which took the shape of his daughter Hathor or Sekhmet, a lioness. So upon the advice of the gods, Ra decided to spread destruction among men, and the Eye was chosen for the task. So the goddess only performed part of her task and returned to her father to find that he had relented, for he only wanted to restore order to his divine creation. But the goddess had turned bloodthirsty, and Ra was not able to appease her, for she desired to finish her task. So in order to save the rest of, humanity, Ra had the land covered with a fermented red liquid that he hoped the goddess would mistake for blood. Now his plan was successful. The goddess drank so much of the liquid that she could not see clearly to destroy those even within her reach, and part of humankind was saved. There's just so many different stories. They're incredible. Now, however, Ra was still unhappy with humanity. Yeah, who's not? And decided to leave the boundaries of Earth. Nut assumed the figure of a beautiful cow. To achieve his wish, the god Nu urged him to seat himself on the cow Nut. When in the morning, as men were still continuing their quarrelsome ways, the cow ascended with the god on her back and was transformed into the night sky. So Ra was delighted when being raised so high. But the cow became fearful and trembled in every limb. So Ra ordered other gods to support her legs and belly, and they became stars. So giant outreach, giant stretching of the night sky, and you can see it too in certain constellations if you go out and look. Okay, so where did I go? Okay, I don't. Where did I go? Okay, so yeah, no, okay. Ra was delighted when being raised so high, but the cow became fearful, trembled at every limb. Ra ordered the other gods to support her legs and belly and became the stars. Now, it is believed this was how the present world evolved. The heaven and earth, gods and men, were separated. So, afterwards, Ra, the sun god, abdicated his position to Thoth, the moon god, and this was how the Egyptians explained the daily disappearance of the sun and the nightly appearance of the moon. Ra provided mankind with protective spells through Thoth to keep them from harm on earth, and his heavenly kingdom became an afterworld where they could hope for eternal happiness. Alright, now that, I love that. I love that story. I love the story of Ra and Thoth. I just love Thoth. I always have. Alright, so where did I go? Okay, now we have Sefket Abwi. So Sefket Abwi, also known as she who has 7 horns. Okay, so yeah, the Sietis Machos clone, we can make a little connection with that. 7 goats, 7 horns. She was the Egyptian goddess of libraries and writing, probably a form of Seshat. So she was depicted in human form as bearing a 7-pointed star or rosette on her head below a bow-shaped object. Alright, now, so Thoth is actually the one that introduced writing and technology, so I'm not sure about this one and where that came from. Now we have Sechet. So Sechet is a very ancient goddess who was believed to be the sister and more commonly the wife of Thoth, the deity of writing and measurement, until such functions were ascribed to her husband. So she was called the Lady of Books, or celestial librarian, and was the patroness also of arithmetic, agriculture, and records. Although she shared these functions with Thoth, Sechet was essentially a royal deity belonging to the pharaohs alone. Thus, when temples, royal edifices were being established, Sechet and the pharaoh, they were shown together stretching the cord to measure out their dimensions. So she is the one that helps build all temples. So yeah, she is the support, the construction of the temple. So on top of Mot. Yeah, if you guys understand that. So okay, so Sechet was there and essentially a royal deity belonging to the pharaohs alone. So where'd I go? So as a recorder, she wrote down the name of the king on the leaves of the tree of life near which she dwelt, thus giving him immortality. And she marked the duration of the king's earthly life on notched palm branch that she carried, having calculated the length of his day. So in this capacity, she seemed to have associations with Anubis. Could be. So the deity was generally depicted as a woman wearing a flower or a star emblem on her head, together with the urasis of her royal connections. Sechet was dressed in a leopard skin and held a pen and scribe's ink pellet. So yeah, there's so much just connections with each one. It's crazy. It really is. Alright. Now we have Seth. We all know Seth. Alright, Seth or Set was among the first 9 deities in the Heliopolitan theological system, probably originating from Libya, so whose followers appear to have worshipped him under the crocodile and hippopotamus fetishes. Now at first they were centered in Upper Egypt, but later spread throughout the country, so there seemed to be no rivalry between the cults of Osiris and Isis and his cult, perhaps because the people thought that they were all the same family, since Seth was the 3rd child of Nu, born on the 3rd intercalary day. So he married his twin sister Nephesis. Geb was his father, and his siblings were Isis and Osiris. As a deity, he generally represented hostility and violence, and therefore was typically associated with Semitic war goddesses, including Anat and Astarte. Wow. So, now according to legend, he violently tore himself from his mother's womb. Wow. In a hurry to get out into the world? Jeez. Set is depicted in human form as possessing a head of an animal that possibly resembling an aardvark, with erected ears and a curving snout. He's also depicted an animal which bears no resemblance to any living creature, but has a stuffy, erected tail. Other animals symbolizing this god include the oryx, pig boar, crocodile, and hippopotamus, when being a disruptive element in a river. So, Seth is mostly recognized for the part he played in the Osirian legend, in which he battled 84 years with Osiris' son Horus. The assembly of gods judged Horus, the victor, but during the battle Seth tore Horus' left eye out, which became the Eye of Horus. So this legend was the first recorder in the pyramid texts, later popularized and embellished by the Greek writer Plutarch. I love that myth. I love these myths. They are just amazing. So, alright, where did I go? In another myth, Seth is credited for having saved Ra, who was about to be swallowed up by Apophis. Oh, Apophis, the devouring worm. Easter egg, my Sabrina fans. Easter egg. Apophis. the perennially hostile serpent of the underworld. Ooh. So the Book of the Dead accredits Seth as being the Lord of the Northern Sky, who controls the storms, clouds, and thunder. I really, that's weird that Apophis pops up. Yeah, very weird. So now, politically, Seth gained supremacy during the Hyksos occupation of the Delta, because these Semitic invaders adopted him as their god. But unlike the pharaohs, they regarded him as the only god and attempted to impose his cult on the rest of Egypt, which retained its independence. So the Hyksos, or, oh gosh, the rulers of foreign lands, found Seth similar to their own Baals when Pharaoh Ahmosis reunited Egypt after the expulsion of the Hyksos about 1570 BC. The other Egyptian gods were restored. However, an indirect legacy of Seth's elevation perhaps was attempted Memphis IV to replace all the gods with Atum, the solar disk. That's just weird, Apophis. I've never heard Apophis mentioned ever. Alright, so tomorrow we will go with Sesmu, and that will be the end of this. So, yeah, that's just really weird. Apophis. I did not know. Yes, I did not know that that was an actual demon or deity or being. So weird. Kind of weird, but just, I mean, it is strange, you know, seeing Apophis on, you know, whatever, and on Sabrina, and then boom, Apophis pops up. So that's just, you can go away, Apophis. So whatever. Anyways, all right, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you guys for all the comments, the amazing comments, everything. I love you all very much with all my heart. Stay safe, stay home. I love you all with all my heart, all the way from Venus, all the way back down. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So, yes, please stay safe, guys. And don't get sick. Wash your hands, do all that good stuff. But yeah, I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.